Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And I pray to the Vaishnavas that I can say something meaningful today. So, yesterday, the purport that was read, text 46, so we'll begin with text 47, and we can repeat it one time, and when we come to text 50, which has a nice purport, and the only purport here, then, of course, that's quite a long verse. Let us repeat this verse, and then read a few verses that have no purport. Ijat Morishim Anamya Tachchim Yamscha Mahatmana Tatogad Ashrama Sakshan Pitu Dvaipayanasya Me Ijatma Rishim Anamya Chachchishyamscha Mahatmana Takogad Ashramam Sakshan Pitudvai Payanasya Me. Someone else can repeat? Someone would like to. Tachtim Shamscha Mahatmana Dvapayanasya Me Yadyam Rishimanamya Achim Sham Mahatmana Saksha Pitudvapayanasya Me Yinavyabanamya Tachim Sham Mahatmana Ogadatmanam Saksha Udayamaya Me. Vaishnavis? Yatmam Vishimatmaya Timsam Mahatmana Yogadashamam Saksha Yamajanmasyate Iti, thus speaking. Adyam, foremost. Rishim, to the sage. Narayana Rishi. Anamya, bowing down. Tat, his. Shishyan, to the disciples. Cha, and Mahatmana, great saints. Tata, from there, Narayanashrama. Agat, he went. Ashramam, to the hermitage. Sakshat, direct. Pitu, of the progenitor. Dvapayanasya, Dvapayana Veda Vyas. My translation. Shukadeva Goswami continued. After saying this, Narada bowed down to Sri Narayana Rishi, the foremost of sages, and also to his saintly disciples. He then returned to the hermitage of my father, Dvapayana Vyasa. Om Agyan Tibarandasya Ganam Jana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Minatasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Darati Swapatantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Dishatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So as Mukundadat Prabhu said yesterday, now the narration is finished. The narration for many, of course, many may not have been following the whole, what's going on in this whole chapter, but the basic gist of the whole chapter is how can one understand with material instruments like mind, senses, intelligence, something which is beyond their grasp, and that's I will discuss. Just wanted to make this is the whole essence, and the whole explanation given by the Personified Vedas is the Supreme Lord reveals it. That's how it happens. It's not like we're going to figure it out. I'll speak a little more, just giving a very broad background to everyone. So now that narration has been finished, Narada Muni thanks Sri Narayana Rishi for his mercy. This is what we do. Even Srila Prabhupada, he was so far above all of us, but he would say thank you very much. Because anyway, I'll explain this. Some point I want to make later, but just this is the basic point, that when we hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, or when we hear some revelation from Vaishnavas, superior Vaishnavas, of course, if we're actually Vaishnavas, everyone's a superior Vaishnava. Internally in my heart, everyone's a superior. But so we're very grateful that Krishna is making this revelation. So I'll go to the next verse. Now we won't repeat this one, I'll just speak it. Sabhajito Bhagavata Kritasana Parigraha Tasmai Tam Parayamasa Narayana Mutachchutam. Vyasadeva, the incarnation of the personality of Godhead, respectfully greeted Narada Muni and offered him a seat. Thus, he accepted. Narada then described to Vyasa what he had heard from the mouth of Sri Narayana Rishi. So here we see how revelation takes place. It's not that sometimes we have a very linear way of seeing things. But it's going back and forth. No. Sometimes, sometimes, as in the recitation of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the disciple is speaking and the guru is listening. Shukadev was speaking and Vyasadeva was listening. And I'll get to that point later. So this is how Krishna consciousness flows. It's not like we have this tendency in the material world. Here in India, in Bharat, it is especially very kind of vertical. It comes down and you have to fit in. One time when I was traveling in South India, before we had any temples there, we had a few, but in many places. So I would stay in Gaudiya Math. And every time, come time for prasadam, there was one little festival going on, so there was a lot of visiting devotees. And it took them like 10 minutes for everybody to sit down because they had to figure out who joined first. No, you joined 3 months more than you sit over here. No. And it was interesting. No. So the next verse. No. So we have that tendency to see things in a very linear way, or only in terms of diksha, no, and not in shiksha. Who is revealing? No. Who is revealing this knowledge? But we see when there are great personalities, they're not interested in this. Although the etiquette must be followed, etiquette must be followed, but it's not like the absolute determination of how things are revealed. Ite tad maninam rajan yana prashna krita tvaya yata brahman anirdishe nirgunepi manascharit. Thus I have replied to the question you asked me, O king. Here's Shukadev summing up. Concerning how the mind can have access to the absolute truth, which is indescribable by material words and devoid of material qualities. And then this last verse in the chapter, which has a very wonderful purport. Yosyo Pekshata Arimadya Nidane Yo Bhaktya Jiveshvaro Yajshrist Vedam Anapravishya Rishina Chakre Purashashtita Yam Sapadya Jahat Yajam Anushai Supta Kulayam Yata Tam Kaivalyam Nirastayonim Abhayam Jayat Ajashram Harim. So we can, let's repeat the word for word of this particular verse. Ya, who, asya, this universe. Utprakshakaha, the one who watches over. Adi, in its beginning. Madhya, middle. Nidane, an end. Yaha, who? Abhyakta, of the unmanifested material nature. Jiva, and of the living entities. Ishvara, the Lord. Ya, who? Shrishva, having sent forth. Idam, this universe. Anupravishya, entering. Rishina, along with the jiva soul. Chakre, produced. Pura, bodies. Shasti, regulates. Ta, them. Yam, to whom? Sampadya, by surrendering. Jahati, gives up. Ajam, the unborn, material nature. Anushai, embracing her. supta, a sleeping person, kulayam, his body, yata, as, tam, upon him, kaibalya, by his purely spiritual status, nirasta, kept away, yonim, material birth, abhayam, for fearlessness, jayat, one should meditate, ajasham, incessantly, Harim, the Supreme Lord Krishna. Translation and purport by the servants of Srila Prabhupada. He is the Lord who eternally watches over this universe, who exists before, during, and after its manifestation. He is the master of both the unmanifested material energy and the spirit soul. After sending forth the creation, he enters into it, accompanying each living entity. Thus, he creates the material bodies and then remains as their regulator. By surrendering to him, one can escape the embrace of illusion. That's why I wanted to read the word for word. No, Anushayi supta kulayam. No, that he, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the only way. The only way, surrendering to Krishna. Just as a dreaming person forgets his own body, one who wants liberation from fear should constantly meditate on him, Lord Hari, who is always on the platform of perfection and thus never subject to material birth. So very interesting, before I read the purport, very interesting, it says here, one who wants liberation from fear, you meditate on Krishna. So this is going on and again in all of these wonderful Vrindavan pastimes. So many fearful conditions. What would we do if like a 60-meter big bird came and started, trying to consume us, like Bakasura? What would we do? Or if Agasura, although there's a little manifestation of Agasura, like these trucks on the highway. They look like little mini Agasura, trying to consume the living entities. So such a fearful condition in this material world. But the momentarily they would feel a little fear because these emotions increase dependence on Krishna. But we'll see in the purport, Agasura is mentioned. And that, some of the cowherd boys were thinking, it looks like a big demon, but a cave. Maybe it's it doesn't matter what it is, we'll go in. And, if there's some problem, Krishna will arrange it. Completely fearless. And we're so fearful. We think to get away from fear, let me get some more locks on the door. Let me get this and that. Let me take some, kung fu classes, whatever. And then I can know. But whatever you try to do in this material world, some greater manifestation. And as Srila Prabhupada says in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, the real fear, what is it caused by? Being constantly threatened by non-existence of the body. This is the real fear. So if we're absorbed in Krishna, we're surrendered to Krishna, we go beyond the fear that's generated by this body. So this verse, basically, describing how Krishna is doing everything, why should you take another methodology to try to understand this world, to try to escape fear, to try to understand things, otherwise wake up from illusion? Scientists, philosophers, they have so many trying to manipulate words and conceptions, but they just miss the whole understanding. Very good at analyzing problems, but they have no solution. So the purport: by glancing upon the dormant universe at the time of sending forth the jiva souls into creation, the Supreme Lord provides all their necessities. For those living entities who are fruitive workers, He provides the intelligence and senses needed to achieve success in material work. Just like our famous boatman story. The boatman, he had all the intelligence he needed to do what he was doing. Krishna is giving it. And he had complete faith in that. And therefore his intelligence was greater than the so-called scientist Brahmin, who had no faith in Krishna. For those who seek transcendental knowledge, He provides the intelligence by which they can merge into the spiritual effulgence of God and thus attain liberation. So, instead of being a jnani, understand that Krishna is providing all knowledge. And for the devotees, He provides the understanding that leads them to His pure devotional service. Tadami buddhi yogam tam menamam upayanti te. He gives, this is real intelligence. Everything else is just manipulation of material energy, both gross and subtle. To arrange for these varied facilities, the Lord impels the material nature to begin the process of universal evolution. Thus, the Lord is the nimita karanam, or effective cause of creation. He is also the upadana karanam, the ingredient cause, inasmuch as everything emanates from Him, and He alone is constantly present before, during, and after the manifestation of the created cosmos. Lord Narayan Himself states in the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, Ahamiva sameva gre nanyadyad sarasat param paschadaham tade tachcha yo vashishyate sosmyaham. It is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. Bhagavatam 2.9.33. Primeval Maya and the Jiva soul may deserve the respective titles of upadana and nimita, causes of creation, in a relative sense. But the Lord, after all, is the origin of both of them. So, just this particular part of the purport, that, there in everything that is created from something that's created from something that's created, there is an efficient cause and an ingredient cause. But we meditate on the original one. Therefore, the whole Bhagavatam begins with this understanding. I meditate on that which is the cause of creation, existence, and annihilation, who is there at every phase of existence. Never, the Lord is never absent. And we get caught up in the complexities of time and space, and we can't figure things out. But then, therefore, here, this is, and as I mentioned yesterday, if you begin this particular chapter in Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, after he explains the first and the second verse, he goes into like 3-4 pages just to show, in terms of what we can understand, the whole process of material creation, the jiva soul, the jiva being caught up in material. He gives wonderful, beautiful explanation of everything before he even continues with the the recitation of the particular verses of the Bhagavatam. And we see this again and again. This is the brilliance that Srila Prabhupada showed. Of course, he always showed brilliance, but a particular brilliance that you'll find places in Krishna book. Prabhupada will speak many paragraphs. It's not there in the Bhagavatam. It's not even there in the purports, because Prabhupada is bringing it to our level of comprehension. And therefore, another, as Narada Muni was so grateful, how grateful we should be that Srila Prabhupada has taken these very complex verses. And, Prabhupada recited Krishna. He was like, just in case he couldn't translate the Bhagavatam, first he put the whole philosophy in the first canto of Bhagavatam. The whole philosophy. Because he was thinking, at any time, I've already had so many stresses. I'm at an old age in life. I have this mission from my Guru Maharaj, but, I have no money for printing. I'm trying to publish these magazines. So he just think, if I leave this body, let me at least do that much. And then as he began to translate the Bhagavatam, health issues, he decided, yes, I may not get to the 10th canto. Let me speak this Krishna book. And he included within the Krishna book all the elements of philosophy so that we could understand. So this is how much mercy that, Srila Prabhupada just tirelessly put into his books. And therefore Prabhupada said again and again, there's one famous, sometimes devotees get caught up on Prabhupada's letters, which are very instructive. But then Prabhupada wrote a letter saying, don't publish my letters. We did it anyway. And there was another conversation where he said, better not to publish my conversation. We did it anyway. And, because he said everything is otherwise these books were prepared to systematically present Krishna consciousness according to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is the essence. These other things are complementary. But sometimes devotees get stuck on one point, one letter or something over here or over there. One letter that Prabhupada wrote, and this was his greatest desire, even though he never enforced it. This is the basis of many modern philosophical interpretations of Srila Prabhupada's book. One letter. And Prabhupada, didn't even specifically state what they think he's stating. But, no. So, no, the whole Krishna consciousness is here. So anyway, let's go. This is quite a long purport, but it's very beautiful. Until he chooses to accept the mercy of the personality of Godhead, the jiva soul is anushayi, helplessly bound up in the embrace of illusion. Kota nigar jao mai, pisachira kole. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has, condensed this, has summarized this, that we're caught up. Maya is so expert that just like a little baby, in the mother's lap, or in Maya's lap, the baby feels so comfortable. But Maya then throws the baby on the floor, and then the baby gets up, jumps back in the lap, Otherwise, Maya is trying to teach you, you don't belong here. You belong at Krishna's lotus feet, not in my lap. This is the illusory, this is my illusory function. I'm trying to teach you, go to Krishna's lotus feet. And we keep jumping back. Therefore, I've many times stated, Maya is the best, so we have many expert business people businessmen, especially here in India, making thousands and tens of thousands of crores. But Maya is the best businesswoman because she gives something, takes it all away, and then we come back and ask for more, and she takes it all away, and she come back and asks, and we takes it all away, and we keep coming back. Any business person would be, this is greatest business. No, I take everything back, and then they come for more, and I take it back again, and they come for more, and they're just feeding me, keep feeding me. So Maya's shown us this. So we don't want to sleep in the lap of Maya. Even though the liberated soul may still seem to be living in a material body, the connection he has with it is only an external appearance. He pays no more regard to it than a sleeping man pays to his body while busily engaged far, far away in his dream world. A very nice connection here. So Maya, as it says here, fallen like a rod to pay obeisances at the Lord's lotus feet. One gives up ignorance by abandoning false identification with one's material body. Sometimes one can achieve this state only by a severe effort that takes many lifetimes. But in some cases, the Lord may show special consideration for one he favors, regardless of how little credit that soul may have earned by regulated practice. In the words of Sri Bhishmadev, Yamiha niriksha hata gata swarupam. Those who simply saw Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original forms after being killed. Bhagavatam 1:9-39. Of course, on the other hand, we have to be careful here. No, this is exceptional. So Srila Prabhupada said many times, there is sadhana siddha and kripa siddha. And of course, there's nitya siddha, but we're obviously not in that platform. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So don't count on kripa siddha. Count on sadhana siddha. If you get some special kripa, just like Pundadat Prabhu yesterday mentioned Surabi Swami. Prabhupada, there were other people too. Prabhupada would chastise, Tamal Krishna Maharaj chastised him constantly. And I know another devotee, I won't mention his name. He said to me, I was with Prabhupada so many, he never chastised me. I was thinking that maybe something was wrong. But then later on I realized that I'm just a sentimental fool, and Prabhupada realized that. And therefore he just patted me on the head. He actually said that Prabhupada physically patted him on the head. Because he could see this is what he needed to feel that full faith. Some other devotees by sadhana, by their chanting and their service. Other devotees by just their sacrifice, working hard for Srila Prabhupada because he engaged them in something Herculean tasks that were very difficult to perform. They got some special kripa, but we don't, let me count on it. Prabhupada said, don't look for an honorary degree. We look for we want to earn that degree. That even demons like Agha, Baka, and Keshi were liberated by Lord Krishna without having performed any spiritual practices is an indication of his unique position as the original personality of Godhead. Knowing this, we should put aside all fear and doubt and give ourselves fully to the process of devotional service. Especially mentioned here, Agha, Because Aga, he got sarupya, no? And all these other demons, they got sayuja, but he got sarupya. Why is that? Actually, it is explained that he attained his four-arm form. He saw Krishna, but he only got a four-arm form because he did not understand Brajalila. So he got a four-arm form, but he was liberated. And Putana, she got Brajalila just because she had a motherly affection toward Krishna. So the point is, we can't count on any one of these specific forms of mercy. We can't count on them. This purport was longer than I remembered. Okay, here's the beautiful part, final part of the purport. As the final words of the commentary on this chapter, as his final words on the commentary of this chapter, Srila Sridhar Swami writes, Savrashuto Shiraratna Nirachatta Padambujam Bhoga Yoga Padambande Madhavam Karmenam Rayo. With their effulgence, the crest jewels among all the Shrutis offer aratik to the lotus feet of Lord Madhava. I pay homage to them who bestows the material enjoyment honored by material workers, and who also grants the divine connection with him, prized by those who bow down to him with reverence. So he's basically saying that same Lord that gives material pleasure, gives spiritual, otherwise he gives everything to everyone according to their desire. So in this prayer, he's also warning us what kind of desire you should have. Be careful of what you desire. Krishna actually, in one sense, warns us the same in the 7th chapter of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. He says, Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddha ayarchitum ichchati tasya tanam shraddha. Krishna is basically saying, be careful what kind of shraddha you have. You put your shraddha in the demigods, and then you'll get some temporary thing. So otherwise, and he's also saying, whatever you meditate on, this will form your shraddha. If you're meditating on money, if you're meditating on, and therefore Lord Chaitanya says, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim kavitam ba. No, don't meditate on these things. You may use them in Krishna's service, but don't meditate on them. They will, distract you, and you'll have the wrong deity. No. Make your deity the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And now the most humble prayer of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also takes this opportunity to offer this humble prayer. He bhakta dvaryaham chanchan paladim rautiyo manak prasadam labatam yasman vishishta swesha natahi. O devotees, this poor creature standing at your doorway, waving his tail and barking, please let him have a little prasadam so that he may become exceptional among dogs and get the best masters as his owner. Here the Acharya makes a pun on his own name. Vish, Ishta, exceptional. Shva, Iha, like a dog. Nata, Ati, having a master. Such is the perfection of Vaishnava humility. Thus ends the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 87th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Prayers of the Personified Vedas. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So just to summarize this beginning point, I wanted to continue a little bit on something that was mentioned yesterday. No. Famous verse from Srimad Bhagavatam in the explanation of the Atmaram verse. That, and this verse it's in itself is very interesting, but I just want to make a point about this. No, that aham bedmi, no, shuku beti, vyasu beti neveti va. So this verse was spoken by Lord Shiva, but it's not in a Purana, it's not in the Veda, it's not. Where is it? It manifested mystically. And this is something that has to do with this whole chapter. No, Bhaktya Bhagavatam Grahyam. That he says something, Lord Shiva says something very interesting. I know, Srila Prabhupada says, I may know, just to increase the flavor of the verse. Shiva says, I may know, or I know, I may know. Shuka may know. And Vyasadeva, he may know or he may not know. No? We're speaking about the Bhagavatam. So if Vyasadeva may or may not know, and Shiva may know, Shukadeva may know. So what does this mean? Bhaktya Bhagavatam Grahyam. You can only grasp, you can only understand this Bhagavatam through bhakti. No? Nabudya na chatikaya. Not by intelligence and not by reading many books. So also in the Katha very similar understanding, no? That Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Namedeya Nabahuna Shutena. That you won't understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by very great intelligence or by reading many books, because otherwise it would not be available for everyone. No. It's not something, it's available for everyone. It has to be, therefore it's not dependent on, that I was born in a Brahmin family and I have this great super developed brain, or I have a photographic memory and therefore I'm going to be a very... It may just work in the opposite way. As Queen Kunti says, these things have the tendency to increase material fever. No? So if we have intelligence, we use it as first of all, we think, I've been given this by the mercy. This is the idea of this particular verse by Lord Shiva, which appeared mystically. No? And it has to do with Sridhar Swami, because someone asked yesterday, what is his sampradaya? Nobody knows. He's mystical. Shukadeva Goswami, another mystical personality. No, he left, specifically in the Bhagavatam, it says he left without getting initiation. And then he came back and everybody wanted to hear from him. Where did he come back from? Where's his sampradaya? Where's his learning? Where's the process? It was revealed. It was revealed to him in the womb. And then he went and assimilated, he just experienced, but not like we experience. No. And he was requested to speak the Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So this mystical understanding, where Sridhar Swami, where did he come? Where did what happened? So he was surrounded by Mayavadis, and he wrote this beautiful Bhagavatam commentary, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has approved. And if you don't accept his version, you're not getting Lord Chaitanya's stamp of approval. No. And this was mentioned yesterday. So his commentary was so wonderful. No one could defeat it, but they couldn't accept it because it didn't fit into their, So therefore they challenged him. No, because he said, this is authorized. And of course, at the same time, he's a devotee. He's humble. He's not imposing himself. So they said, okay, if you want this to be authorized, then we will put your commentary in Lord Shiva's temple. And then in the morning, let's see what Lord Shiva says. They were thinking, nothing will happen. And the next morning, there was this verse, that I may know, Shuka may know, and Vyasa may know or may not. Otherwise, the Bhagavatam is revealed. And some things, they may be revealed in the heart of the speaker, and the speaker didn't study this. They didn't study this. This is called realization. But realization is not something that's churned out of our intelligence. If it's actual realization, it's because the Lord is helping us from within the heart. But of course, again, we have to be very careful not to be carried away by this tendency. That, so many things were revealed to me today by Super Soul. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami begins his Chaitanya Charitamrita by saying, Super Soul enlightens us from within, but mostly, and confirming whatever he enlightens us within, his external manifestation as the spiritual master. Otherwise we'll have all kinds of, because in Kali Yuga, the line between illumination and imagination can be very fine, difficult to distinguish. So we should confirm. Krishnadas Kaviraj himself, he before he could speak, he was thinking, who am I to speak this Chaitanya Charitamrita? So he took confirmation from the Vaishnava. He took confirmation from the deities. Baladev Vidyabhushan. He was such a scholarly devotee, but he didn't think, I'm a scholarly devotee. Thank you, Vishwanath, for giving me this. I will just whip it off. I've got such great... No. He went to Govindaji. Please empower me to do this. How can I do this? I'm being empowered, but maybe I didn't understand fully. Let me make sure. So this is how transcendental spiritual knowledge is revealed by great Mahabhagavat devotees of the Lord, like Srila Prabhupada. These such things are revealed. And Prabhupada wanted us to write, Prabhupada wanted us to preach, Prabhupada wanted us to speak, but Prabhupada didn't want us to deviate from, and therefore he gave us these wonderful Bhaktivedanta purports. And devotees, now they're expanding. And this is the nature of the Bhagavatam. This is the unlimited ocean of devotional service that keeps, you never come to an end. Not like, in 5 years I got my Bhakti by Bhava degree, and therefore, I'm on the top. Because those who are on the top, they feel like on the bottom. This is the nature. Mahabhagavat is thinking this is only manifested by the mercy of the Parampara. Well, sometimes we may say that, but have we realized it? Do we actually, is that the condition of my heart? Or is that something I'm repeating like a parrot because great devotees have repeated it? No, it has to come from the heart. But the Kanishthadikari will think, I know better than everyone. And then they may repeat it like a parrot. I'm only my Guru Maharaj, only Rupa, the mercy of Rupa and Srila Prabhupada. No. But is it the condition of the heart? No. So the condition of the heart is free from, and therefore Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us Shikshastikam. to make sure that I cultivate the shikshastic in my chanting and in my devotional life, so that my understanding of Krishna consciousness will be proper. And so this is a very, very important aspect. And this is how this transcendental knowledge is revealed through in the external atmosphere, by revelation of the parampara. But it has to be done very carefully and in the mood of extreme humility and service. And so anyway, this is one point I wanted to make. It's very, very essential. We have to learn and understand this Bhagavatam in a humble state of mind. And therefore, this last prayer of, could you put that last prayer back on the screen if it's possible, of Vishwanath. It's like, it's like tear-jerking understanding of what is the mood of the heart of a Vaishnava, Sometimes we think, oh, I've got my degree, I've got this, I'm really moving ahead in devotional service. I'm most likely maybe I'm a higher madhyam, bordering on uttamadhikari. Just I'll be there in a few more years. Let me take a couple more courses. No, that's not how it happened. These things are instruments to help us, have some ability or some knowledge, but this is not how it's revealed. No, this is something that's there, and then if I can chant the holy name in a pure state of mind, if I can actually develop humility, then these things will be revealed. Otherwise, it will just be information, devotional information. That if I'm not very careful, can, instead of increasing my bhakti, will, just like, that's why it says that the weeds that grow in the heart, they look like, the bhakti lata bead. They look like the bhakti lata, but they may be weeds. So, anyway, there's so many things that could be said about this subject matter, but I'll stop here. According to the sign here, we still have a few minutes for questions. If anyone has a comment, addition, or some they would like to ask.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much. So, I have
wait till the bell stops. Okay.
So you are speaking about Krupa Siddha and all that. I have two questions regarding that. One is, Srila Prabhupada writes in 7th Canto Bhagavatam that Prahlad Maharaj is of Sadhana Siddha, then of Krupa Siddha, of Nitya Siddha. What does that mean? Srila Prabhupada wrote in 7th Canto Bhagavatam, Srila Prahlad Maharaj is of Sadhana Siddha and of Nitya Siddha.
Oh, yeah. That who is that?
Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah. Well, when someone goes back home, back to Godhead, they become Nitya Siddha. And so, Prahlad Maharaj, there's a story, in the Sringha Purana, that Prahlad Maharaj, was the way he became Prahlad Maharaj was he was with a prostitute and they were arguing, and therefore they fasted all day and all night, and it happened to be the Sringha Chaturdasi, and therefore he became Prahlad Maharaj. And we see Narada Muni, he's an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and yet he was the son of a maidservant. So sometimes this will happen because a devotee will take the position of a conditioned soul. And sometimes people are ascending to, the position of going back home, back to Godhead. Both possibilities are there. So, the so the understanding is that once we become situated in the Nitya Siddha position, that is perfection. Whether we do it through sadhana bhakti or someone is a Nitya Siddha devotee, like even Jai Vijay, Srila Prabhupada said, they did not fall down. They were participating in the Lord's Leela. So both possibilities are there.
The verse that you quoted, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhya. So in that last sentence was, that person whom Krishna chooses, he will get the mercy. So how does that? How is it? By hearing, by preaching, by reading, one cannot get Krishna. But the person whom Krishna chooses, he will get Krishna. So that is actually Krupa Siddha only, right? So how does that happen? Like, what do I do so that Krishna will choose me?
How does it happen? We take by the mercy of Sri Guru and Parampara. Huh? Yeah. You'll get the mercy if you surrender and you're sincere. Yeah. Surrender and sincere. You follow the Parampara. You follow the instructions of your spiritual master. Then you get it. No. It's not, we have to understand that sadhana doesn't mean that, you earn something. You earn something through an external effort. It means that you take the instructions and of Guru Shastra and Sadhu very seriously, and it becomes your life and soul, which is what Srila Prabhupada said. That Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, I read this verse, and he said, you make the instructions of the spiritual master your life and soul. And and this is another thing, that Srila Prabhupada was actually feeling that way. That this is what I read this purport and I understood what I have to do. It's not like Prabhupada just saying these things, but he experienced it. Even a topmost pure devotee, even Bhaktivinoda Thakur, these are Manjari. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But, they're surrendering to Sri Guru and they're feeling themselves the most fallen. Not that they're thinking, well, I'm a Manjari, but I have to kind of go through these. I'll show everybody how to do it, but, I really don't have to understand these things. So, and this way, just like, something that's very difficult for us to understand. You see someone like Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who doing Vrindavan Parikram was practically, they wanted to stone him to death. They wanted to poison him. And why do they have to go through these things? Srila Prabhupada says because it increases the surrender of the devotee. Even though someone may be a topmost pure devotee, still it increases their dependence more and more on Krishna. And they do this. And they also do this to show us that we must be willing to accept that situation that Krishna puts us into if we want to go back home, back to Godhead. Not that I will tailor my devotional service in such a way that's very comfortable for me. That's not Prabhupada He just told everybody, you surrender. I mean, Prabhupada's movement, especially from the beginning, of course, Maharaj knows better than I. It was like, you just surrender. And of course, Prabhupada gave us the elements how to grow spiritually. But the element of surrender, as I mentioned so many times, that the 26 qualities of a Vaishnava, there's only one which is Swarup Lakshana, which is surrender. All the other 25, so many people may have them. There are many poetic people, there are many friendly people, there are many detached people. No, these are all. But when the element of surrender is there, they all become transcendental qualities of a Vaishnava.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Oh, yeah, he had the microphone.
Maharaj, when sometimes it has been seen that when this Kripa Siddha and Sadhana Siddha comes, students or working people who are outside, they're also practicing devotional service, but they come up with this. So, what is the use of studying? We'll come to the temple, we do services, we'll get perfection, and we are earning, but ultimately it is to surrender to the Lord only. So, no need to work or no need to study. Let's do services, and then we'll get this kripa or sadhana. We do sadhana, reading, hearing, chanting, and we'll get perfection. So, what is the use of studying materialistic studies? How to convey the message that it is necessary to follow the materialistic duties also in order to render services perfectly after entering into the brahmacharya ashram. Maharaj.
Well, every particular devotee, whether they be brahmachari, grihastha, sannyas, whatever they may be, there is a particular way that in which they are supposed to surrender. People who live outside, that's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us the holy name. No. He gave us the holy name because many people, most everyone here in this room right now is not living in the ashram. Not that we have to live in an ashram. It helps. But to live in the ashram, you have to be qualified. Not that you have an easy life. Living in the ashram should be more. If one thinks that being a brahmachari is easier than being a grihastha, one does not understand brahmacharya. No. Brahmachari means 24 hours on call. Not that I have 8 hours of service and so much free time. No. When I was a brahmachari, I never heard the word free time. Did you hear it, Maharaj? There was no such thing, free time. It was like 4 a.m, 10 p.m, and you had some time to sleep. And everything else was service and hearing, chanting, service. And now we have this concept of so many hours of service and I have to have this or that. Of course, there should be time for study. There should be time for the necessities. And people who live outside and come to offer service, in the temple, or they may not even have time to offer service. But then their service will be chanting the holy name in a humble state of mind, and worshiping their deity at home in the proper mood under the direction of spiritual master. I mentioned this yesterday in a class that if a grihastha wants to know how to live perfect grihastha life, go to 2nd canto, 3rd chapter, text number 22, purport. And Srila Prabhupada, you'll see there's no free time for the grihastha either. If you read that purport, you'll see it doesn't matter whether you're in this ashram or your ashram. If you want to go back home to Godhead, you must be in an ashram. Either grihastha ashram or brahmachari ashram. Not that you can't be in your griha. If you're in your griha, then you may be in a dangerous position. So anyway, I've already spoken a little over the allotted time, so I will stop here. Anybody else might have a personal question, I can try to answer it. No, but sometimes I can't hear. It's not anybody else's, my problem, because I have a hearing problem that may be irremediable. So that's why sometimes if the kirtan's too loud, I have to leave, because it's just, my ears have been partially destroyed by loud noises. So anyway, thank you all very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. So you had a question?